In a previous video that I posted today, I spoke on Jeremiah 51 and what God was leading me to this morning, because God has had me speaking about the first Passover, the second Passover, the offering of first fruits, and what is now being fulfilled. And so, because I don't have any ability to fulfill it in any amount of time, if it were up to me, I would fulfill it right away because of my lack of patience. But that's not the ways of God. He has his prophets speak something, then he steps back to see if people respond. If they put it into practice, if they take it seriously, if they return to God, then he has them speak another warning. Then he steps back to see, are they going to take it seriously? So because I don't have the ability to fulfill anything that I speak, I mean, it's such a glorified position, right? Like, I have so much power. I get to speak something that I can't fulfill. I get to speak something that people hate, that they fight me on, and accuse and slander me on his behalf. So much power. Such an exalted position. Because I don't have the power to fulfill it, I'm always watching for it, and I'm always bugging him, and I'm always saying, are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? Are you going to do this? Give me confirmation, Lord. At least give me confirmation that I've spoken correctly. I bug him every day, all day long. Every day, all day long. So I shared with you in that first video what he spoke with me this morning, what he spoke with me yesterday, to confirm what he spoke with me this morning, giving me that second witness, and that these judgments that I've spoken with you, the plague of the fifth trumpet is coming. The fall of Babylon is coming. About 4 or 5 days ago now, he was talking with me in my sleep about these 2 adulterous sisters that he talks about in Ezekiel 23. And he said, Oholiba, and he told me to write down, and so I got up and I wrote down in my notes, Oholiba, and I went back to bed, because this is the name of the second sister. He was also talking with me about the sign that he used in me, because I've gotten to him and asked him, like, why did you have to do things the way that you did them? I know that you're God. I know that your ways are right. But can you at least tell me why you had to do them this way? I know that you didn't drive me away from my home in judgment, because I know that I did everything that you told me to do, and I believed, and I know that you told me to stay in the land, and that you taught me through staying in the land how difficult it was for the Israelites. Otherwise, if they were living so high on the hog, why would it have been difficult for them to stay in the land? And that you say things like, when I send an enemy, or when an enemy comes, this is what you are to do. The implication is they weren't living like so free and so free of distress. Like, there were enemies that were coming, and they had to live in faith, and this is what you required, was for them to understand your covenant, and that when you send things, it's because they've turned away and they need to turn back to you. And that we've completely eliminated that by going to the grocery store and not growing our own food. We're not dealing with pests. We're not dealing with famine. We don't understand the significance of rain. We don't understand the significance of sending plagues to our crops. And then we say things like, oh, God didn't send that. God doesn't send that. He doesn't send disease. He doesn't send all of this stuff, right? Like who else is sending it? Who else is sovereign? Who is God arm wrestling with? Didn't he create Satan? Doesn't he use Satan as the club of his wrath? Doesn't he use him to test us? I mean, he so easily throws him into the lake of burning sulfur. What's the hang up here? Oh, he's using him. So I was taking this up with him. You had me stay in that land. I know you had me stay in that land because I wanted to leave. I was miserable. I was there with no water at one point, so that he could demonstrate to me that he would that he brought water out of a rock. He could bring water out of those pipes, and that he would demonstrate to me the faith that I needed to have in order for him to do that, because I prayed 4 years prior for the faith of a mustard seed that could move mountains. But why then, Lord, when I drove back that hour from my kid's house, was I locked out of the house? After observing the Festival of Tabernacles with my kids, that I drove back, reminding myself, standing in faith, and I was locked out of the house. Why did you do that? It haunts my dreams. It's so painful for me. It's so painful to sit there and hear my grandson talk about wanting to go to grandma's house and play with the toys that he had there. It is haunting for me. Everything that I worked for, and not because I made decisions based on my own stupidity, based on my own desires, based on anything else, but because you told me to continue to pay those mortgages, and you decided to squander that money. You decided to do that. It wasn't because I didn't obey you. It's because I obeyed you. And this was your goodwill to do this, to give up all of the wealth that I had and to make it a joke. So that, to be honest, every time I think about like something nice, oh, that, I could have given this to my kids, like when they need something that I had at the house, which has happened many times. And I think, oh, they can't even afford to have something as nice as that thing that I had at the house that I was saving for them. And then I think, yeah, but I had all the wealth that I needed. God made a joke of it. And if he wanted to save that thing, he would have saved that thing. If he wanted for me to live in a particular way and to go buy something outright and not have to live by faith, he could have done that. But that was not his will. His will was to squander all of that, have me live by faith and total reliance, and to live as a sign to you so that I could actually inherit something that is never going to pass away, that isn't a joke. But why did you have to do it this way? It hurts so much. And he reminded me yesterday of the sign of Ezekiel in Ezekiel 24, and how Ezekiel is told, I'm about to take away from you the delight of your eyes. And he takes Ezekiel's wife. The next day, his wife dies. Is this not painful? The things that he uses, the signs that he uses through his prophets to let the people know what's going to happen to them. And he does this in Ezekiel. Of all things, guys, listen to what I'm saying. Of all things, to let them know this is what's going to happen to you. What did he do to me? He did this, of all things, to let you know what's going to happen to you. And he really pressed it on me yesterday as he was speaking to me and reminding me and bringing back up this Oholiba and the two adulterous sisters. And as he's talking about the judgment that's going to come, that is pointing forward to today, that yes, this was fulfilled and it's going to be fulfilled again. And that's the reason he uses Babylon to talk about the kingdom of the end. Not that there's a literal Babylon, but that he established something for you to understand. But that he says in verse 28 of Ezekiel 23, I am about to deliver you into the hands of those you hate, to those you turned away from in disgust. They will deal with you in hatred and take away everything you have worked for. That's the sign he used in me, isn't it? Even telling me you will plunder those who've plundered you. And he's continued to make me feel the pain of this. They will deal with you in hatred and take away everything you have worked for. They will leave you stark naked, and the shame of your prostitution will be exposed. Your lewdness and promiscuity have brought this on you because you lusted after the nations and defiled yourself with those idols. You have gone the way of your sister, so I will put her cup into your hand. Now, he is not dealing with me because of this. He's not bringing this sign out of me because of my prostitution, because I've been living this out. I've been obeying what I'm supposed to do. He's doing this through me as a sign, any more than he was doing that through Ezekiel by killing his wife. It's a sign to you of what's going to happen. That doesn't mean that I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that I've completed my covenant. That's not what I'm saying. But because I have a relationship with God, I know when he's bringing judgment on me, and I know when he's bringing a sign out of me. So I'm going to read to you from Ezekiel 23, and I'm going to demonstrate to you the times you are living in and what God is fulfilling again after having fulfilled it in the natural. Now he's going to fulfill it metaphorically. And what I mean by that is when he's talking about the judgment he's going to bring on Babylon, he brought a judgment on literal Babylon. Now he's going to bring a judgment on figurative Babylon. He brought a judgment on Samaria and Jerusalem. Now he's been bringing a judgment on Samaria in Gaza. And now he's going to bring a judgment on Jerusalem. And I told you for the last 2 years, that Gaza is a sign to you. Now you're going to know. I told you that you were going to endure exactly what is going on in Gaza. Now you're going to know. Because he is confirming that this is going to happen. He is confirming that what he has said, I did not misspeak, and that he is going to bring these things to fulfillment. I've said to you multiple times in videos now, God is not going to contend with humanity forever. Ezekiel 23. The word of the Lord came to me, son of man. There were 2 women, daughters of the same mother. They became prostitutes in Egypt, engaging in prostitution from their youth. In that land, their breasts were fondled and their virgin bosoms caressed. The older was named Oholah, and her sister was Oholibah. They were mine and gave birth to sons and daughters. Oholah is Samaria, and Oholibah is Jerusalem. Oholah engaged in prostitution while she was still mine, and she lusted after her lovers, the Assyrians, warriors clothed in blue, governors and commanders, all of them handsome young men and mounted horsemen. She gave herself as a prostitute to all the elite of the Assyrians and defiled herself with all the idols of everyone she lusted after. She did not give up the prostitution she began in Egypt, when during her youth men slept with her, caressed her virgin bosom, and poured out their lust on her. Therefore I delivered her into the hands of her lovers, the Assyrians, for whom she lusted. They stripped her naked, took away her sons and daughters, and killed her with the sword. She became a byword among women, and punishment was inflicted on her. Let me just explain to you. This did happen. In the northern kingdom, the sin of Samaria was idolatry. She turned to idols, and she created false religion, false Judaism. And God brought the king of Assyria to attack that northern kingdom for their sin. Samaria refers to the mountainous northern part of the West Bank. Many of those living in Gaza right now are descended Samaritans. It doesn't, not that descent means anything, okay? But what I'm trying to tell you is that these were Jews, like they're descended Jews. This is a Semitic group, so I don't know what anti-Semitic means. Could it possibly mean like bombing the heads off of babies and taking over people's homes who are a Semitic group? Hello? What the heck is going on here? Like what are the distortions that are being used to call those who speak against this anti-Semitic, when one group that claims to be Semitic is slaughtering another Semitic group? But it's okay in one circumstance, but not in the other. These living there right now are descended Jews. They are a Semitic group. Samaria is the West Bank, and those living in Gaza are those who turned away and they started to practice false religion. I also want to remind you that when Jesus was going through the towns of Jerusalem, the towns in which he grew up, they could not accept the message. He couldn't perform miracles there because of the lack of faith. And he went to the town of Samaria and actually stayed there an additional 2 days because they actually believed. And he was able to talk to that woman at the well and tell her, she recognized him as a prophet, and tell her that he was the promised Messiah. And it was clear that she had been waiting for the Messiah, because she said, when the Messiah comes, he will tell us all things. And so too today, this is a group of people who have false religion. They worship what they do not know. And that's exactly what Jesus said to the Samaritan woman at the well. They worship what they do not know, but they do believe that Jesus is the Messiah. You might want to think about that, some of you with your disgusting attitudes about how gross Allah is. Their false God. Allah just means God in Arabic, genius. These people are obeying surely more than you are. They observe a lunar calendar, as God established. They don't mistreat their animals. They don't throw them into slaughterhouses. They don't add to the scroll about that either, in what people are calling kosher. And I, for one, am grateful that they do that they have obeyed at least that much, because I'm able to go to a halal market and be in agreement, in obedience with what God has established regarding how to treat animals and how they must be slaughtered and how the blood must be drained immediately so that it doesn't go back into those tissues for having waited around in a slaughterhouse. Nothing happens without God, without God's sovereignty. So I know that as much as it grieves me on a daily basis, haunts me, what I'm seeing in Gaza, I know that God has brought judgment. And I know that he's using the club of his wrath in order to execute that judgment. And that when he is done using these devils calling themselves the chosen, he's going to turn on them. They're going to their destruction. That group of Assyrians who claim to be Jews, though they are not, but are of the synagogue of Satan. There is a repetition of this happening. And when God is done going after them, you're next. Listen to what Ezekiel 23 says. Because as much as some of you on this channel, because you've sent me messages about it, as much as some of you on this channel think you're better than Islam, than Muslims, you're more disgusting. You're more defiled than your sister. You are more detestable than any of the sins that she has committed. That's what the word says. That's not my idea. She gave herself as a prostitute to all the elite of the Assyrians and defiled herself with all the idols of everyone she lusted after. She did not give up the prostitution she began in Egypt, when during her youth men slept with her, caressed her virgin bosom, and poured out their lust on her. Therefore I delivered her. If this is hard to hear, by the way, God intended it that way. It's hard for me to hear. There's a reason. Feel your feelings about that. It should be hard to hear. Because we're supposed to remain pure. We're not supposed to go around giving our bodies here and there. We're supposed to have remained pure to a husband. And that husband is Christ. And that is what God is depicting here, is that we didn't do that. We didn't maintain that virginity. So that when he talks about the witnesses doing that in Revelation 14, how they maintained their virginity, their purity to Christ, then you should understand that this isn't about physical virginity. It's about spiritual virginity. And what he's depicting is how detestable our spiritual promiscuity has been, being handed around to all these men. Therefore I delivered her into the hands of her lovers, the Assyrians, for whom she lusted. By the way, do you not do the same thing? And so prostituting yourselves to Egypt, prostituting yourselves to the world, prostituting yourselves to Babylon and Assyria, that's what she was lusting after. That's God's pattern. He hands you over to the one you've chosen. Because he gives you an opportunity to choose him. You're going to see that in the next chapter. He tried to cleanse you, but you wouldn't be clean. This is why you're going into that furnace. They stripped her naked, took away her sons and daughters, and killed her with the sword. She became a byword among women. Punishment was inflicted on her. Her sister, Oholiba, saw this, yet in her lust and prostitution, she was more depraved than her sister. And you are more depraved than any judgment you have had on the people of Gaza or on Islam. More depraved. And yet you call yourself Christian. You're supposed to know better. Just as Jerusalem was supposed to know better. Did they not see what was going on? What God brought to Samaria? Then why did they not return when Jeremiah was prophesying to them for 23 years? Why is it that when their parents entered that land, they were taught a song by Moses in prophecy of the fact that they were going to turn and serve idols, but they still, in their arrogance, said, no, hasn't God given us this land? He's not going to drive us out. Same thing you think. But also because you don't know his covenant. Like you don't look at the Holocaust and you don't say, oh, these people were reforming God's word just before God brought the Holocaust. They were setting up universities and institutions and synagogues in Europe just before God brought the Holocaust in a movement called Wissenschaft des Judentums, the science of Judaism, making him prostitute himself, his word, to the false god of science that denies that the creator even exists. They were doing away with all of the things that God said. You are to remember these things and observe them from generation to generation wherever you live. You don't look at that and say, oh, this is what God has done, and I need to fear him, and I need to know that if I prostitute myself, and if I try to reform his word, that is what he's going to do. Because that's what he said in Leviticus 26 and Deuteronomy 28. You don't pray the way that Daniel did. Lord, we disobeyed you. Lord, we did all these things, and therefore we're in captivity right now because all of the sworn judgments in your law have come on us. All of those sworn curses that you said so long ago, if you do these things, this is what I will do to you. You don't look at Gaza and think, I need to get my act together. You don't do that because you don't know his covenant. You don't know his word. You don't know his law because you're too busy pretending like Christianity has some different law. Even though Jesus said, Not one jot or tittle, not the least stroke of a pen is going to be removed from the law. I've come to fulfill the law. Part of the law. To fulfill it, not to abolish it. But you're under some umbrella of delusion that's called Babylon. You don't even know what Christianity actually is. You look at what the early Christians went through, and for some odd reason think, does it ever occur to you, like, that this is what God has set his people apart to endure on behalf of his name, participating in his sufferings, in your daily cross, that the very people who kill you are going to claim to be doing a service to God, that you are going to offer your bodies as an offering, that you are going to resist sin to the point of shedding your own blood. What language am I speaking? Am I speaking my own language? Am I pulling this out of my own thoughts and imaginations? No, I'm speaking to you on the word. Exactly what the word says. And God is talking about you. Her sister, Oholiba, saw this, yet in her lust and prostitution, she was more depraved than her sister. She too lusted after the Assyrians, governors and commanders, warriors in full dress, mounted horsemen, and all handsome young men. I saw that she too defiled herself. Both of them went the same way, but she carried her prostitution still further. And I just read to you in Zechariah, where God sends those horses out into the world to go see what's going on, and they come back, those spirits, they come back and they say, the world's at rest, everyone's at peace, and God is angry, and he says, I was only a little angry, but now they've gone too far with the punishment. Like, they should not be at peace. I've been reading these things to you as he brings them up in me, as he speaks them to me. They all go together, don't they? And guess what? I didn't need Hebrew, Aramaic, or Greek to understand that. The Holy Spirit was able to bring the picture together and speak certain things to me so that I understand what he's about to do, so that I can warn you. And yet one of you is going to be joining us today on the last day of assembly of the Passover. That's pathetic. But she carried her prostitution still further. She saw men portrayed on the wall, figures of Chaldeans portrayed in red with belts around their waists and flowing turbans on their heads. All of them looked like Babylonian chariot officers, natives of Chaldea. As soon as she saw them, she lusted after them and sent messengers to them in Chaldea. Then the Babylonians came to her to the bed of love, and in their lust they defiled her. After she had been defiled by them, she turned away from them in disgust. When she carried on her prostitution openly and exposed her naked body, I turned away from her in disgust, just as I had turned away from her sister. Yet she became more and more promiscuous as she recalled the days of her youth, when she was a prostitute in Egypt. There she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys, and whose emission was like that of horses. It makes me sick, honestly, to read that. Every time I hear it, it makes me sick. It's so gross. But it's intended to be gross. He is being descriptive for a reason, to make you understand how disgusting this is to him. So you longed for the lewdness of your youth, when in Egypt your bosom was caressed and your young breast fondled. Therefore, Oholiba, this is what the sovereign Lord says, I will stir up your lovers against you, those you turned away from in disgust, and I will bring them against you from every side. The Babylonians and all the Chaldeans, the men of Pekod and Shoa and Koa, and all the Assyrians with them, handsome young men, all of them governors and commanders, chariot officers and men of high rank, all mounted on horses. They will come against you with weapons, chariots, and wagons, and with a throng of people. They will take up positions against you on every side. With large and small shields and with helmets, I will turn you over to them for punishment, and they will punish you according to their standards. I will direct my jealous anger against you, and they will deal with you in fury. They will cut off your noses and your ears, and those of you who are left will fall by the sword. They will take away your sons and daughters, and those of you who are left will be consumed by fire. They will also strip you of your clothes and take your fine jewelry. So I will put a stop to the lewdness and prostitution that you began in Egypt. You will not look on these things with longing or remember Egypt any more. For this is what the sovereign Lord says, I am about to deliver you into the hands of those you hate. To those you turned away from in disgust, they will deal with you in hatred and take away everything you have worked for. Listen to the sign. They will leave you stark naked, and the shame of your prostitution will be exposed. Your lewdness and promiscuity have brought this on you. because you have lusted after the nations and defiled yourself with their idols. You have gone the way of your sister, so I will put her cup into your hand. Let it sink in. This is what the sovereign Lord says. You will drink your sister's cup, a cup large and deep. It will bring scorn and derision, for it holds so much. You will be filled with drunkenness and sorrow, the cup of ruin and desolation, the cup of your sister Samaria. You will drink it and drain it dry, and chew on its pieces, and you will tear your breasts. I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. Since you have forgotten me and turned your back on me, you must bear the consequences of your lewdness and prostitution. The Lord said to me, Son of man, will you judge Oholah and Oholiba? Then confront them with their detestable practices. For they have committed adultery, and blood is on their hands. They have committed adultery with their idols. They even sacrificed their children, whom they bore to me as food for them. They have also done this to me. At the same time, they defiled my sanctuary and desecrated my Sabbaths. On the very day they sacrificed their children to their idols, they entered my sanctuary and desecrated it. That is what they did in my house. They even sent messengers for men who came from far away. And when they arrived, you bathed yourself for them, applied eye makeup, and put on your jewelry. You sat on an elegant couch with a table spread before it on which you had placed the incense and olive oil that belonged to me. The noise of a carefree crowd was around her. Drunkards were brought from the desert along with the men from the rabble, and they put bracelets on the wrists of the woman and her sister and beautiful crowns on their heads. Then I said about the one worn out by adultery, now let them use her as a prostitute, for that is all she is. And they slept with her. As men sleep with a prostitute, so they slept with those lewd women, Oholah and Oholiba. Oholiba, Jerusalem. You're supposed to be spiritual Jerusalem, guys. But righteous judges will sentence them to the punishment of women who commit adultery and shed blood, because they are adulterous and blood is on their hands. This is what the sovereign Lord says. Bring a mob against them and give them over to terror and plunder. The mob will stone them and cut them down with their swords. They will kill their sons and daughters and burn down their houses. So I will put an end. By the way, not figurative. Listen to what he's saying. Look at the example of Gaza. Look at the sign that God has given you of Gaza, of what I had to walk away from. Listen to what he's saying. The mob will stone them and cut them down with their swords. They will kill their sons and daughters and burn down their houses. So I will put an end to lewdness in the land, that all women may take warning and not imitate you. You will suffer the penalty for your lewdness and bear the consequences of your sins of idolatry. Then you will know that I am the Lord. And I want you to pay attention to Gaza because it's been relentless. There's no end to what they deal with. There's no end to the judgment, to the IDF firing at little children who are trying to get water and food. How will you feel? How will you feel when you send your children and you don't know if that's the last time you're going to see them, if they're going to be shot? When they leave to go get water and food for your family, how will you feel? Have you put yourself in that position? No, you're too busy thinking you're exempt. I'm not going to read the next chapter for you because I've read it 1,000 times on the channel, but we're getting ready to assemble. I have about 10 minutes. I want you to pay attention. That's what I do day after day. I push myself to the limit to bring a message to you that God has me speaking. Even to the last 10 minutes before assembly, I'm trying I'm begging you to return to God. I'm begging you to hear the things that I have to say. Making your life more important than mine. How many people at the assembly today? 1. So go ahead and read it on your own. Ezekiel 24 talks about Jerusalem as the cooking pot. God talks about how he tried to cleanse you, but you would not be clean. So I will read the end of this chapter to you. Now your impurity is lewdness. Because I tried to cleanse you, but you would not be cleansed from your impurity. You will not be clean again until my wrath against you has subsided. I, the Lord, have spoken. The time has come for me to act. I will not hold back. I will not have pity, nor will I relent. He's not mincing words. Look at the example of Gaza. You will be judged according to your conduct and your actions, declares the sovereign Lord. And then he gives you the sign of Ezekiel. Son of man, with one blow, I'm about to take away from you the delight of your eyes. Yet do not lament or weep or shed any tears. Groan quietly, do not mourn for the dead. Keep your turban fastened and your sandals on your feet. Do not cover your mustache or beard or eat the customary food of mourners. So I spoke to the people in the morning, and in the evening my wife died. Painful, but you guys take it totally for granted. And you can so easily say things like, oh, boo-hoo, that you have to do this, right? Disgusting. So I spoke to the people in the morning, and in the evening my wife died. The next morning I did as I had been commanded. Then the people asked me, won't you tell us what these things have to do with us? Why are you acting like this? So I said to them, the word of the Lord came to me, say to the people of Israel, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I'm about to desecrate my sanctuary, the stronghold in which you take pride, the delight of your eyes, the object of your affection. The sons and daughters you left behind will fall by the sword. Need I remind you, he had me abandon a building and say, I'm about ready to abandon my house. You are not going to come back to this building. Oh no, God would never. He would never, right? He would never abandon his house. I don't know. He says right here that he's going to desecrate his sanctuary. And Jesus says that your house is left to you desolate. That means abandoned, Jerusalem. But no, Carrie, you're false. God's not bringing signs through you. All right, we shall see. Let's see how God judges it. Let's see how he fulfills it. The sons and daughters you left behind will fall by the sword, and you will do as I have done. You will not cover your mustache and beard or eat the customary food of mourners. You will keep your turbans on your heads and your sandals on your feet. You will not mourn or weep, but will waste away because of your sins and groan among yourselves. Ezekiel will be a sign to you. You will do just as he has done. When this happens, you will know that I am the sovereign Lord. Let it sink in, guys, that this is what the word says about what's going to happen to you in the end. Let it sink in. Sit with God. Read it for yourself so that you can know this is what the word says. Go discern this with him.